Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Still haven't figured out if I want to do music in the morning or not. One of these times we'll get there. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully everyone is able to rest up, get ready for the day ahead, all that fun stuff. As always, on the left side of the screen there, make sure to read through the Live Trader Morning Prep PDF. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside there. Just a quick note before we jump on in. Please note on the YouTube side of things, the broadcast on YouTube does have between a 5 and 30 second delay, depending on where you're logging in from. That will definitely impact the timeliness of what I may be talking about at any given moment. And along with that, just keeping an eye on future areas, trying to forecast a little bit more. That delay can be really painful sometimes. Also, just want to take a shout out, or give a second to take a shout out. I think I said that 2 days in a row now. To give our latest members a shout out. Let's see how many times I can throw that in there. That joined in the overnight or this morning, etc. Thank you so much for the support. I'm pumped to have you on the family here with SSFTG. Hang on. Gotta get my lips moving in the right way here. So I know someone just joined as soon as I did that too. I'm sure that was interesting. If you aren't a member yet, you have a few different options available to you to check out to further your trading education and career. Here on YouTube, you can check out the join button below the stream. The YouTube family gains access to the extended trading. Those hours take place. The extended trading hours room. Those hours take place after the morning session from 10 until whenever we end up. 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere inside there. Every member also gains permanent access to the Discord chat server, and of course, you get the awesome badge next to your name here to show your support on YouTube. To understand what it is that we are doing here every morning, look no further than the Day Trading Academy. Listen, this isn't a small PDF or something you're going to finish in an afternoon. You're looking at 19 plus hours of course material, study guides, homework, etc. So if you're looking for a way to really understand what's going on, that's going to be a really great place to start. And then, of course, the big one, the final, the Mac Daddy, the VIP. VIPs have exclusive access, permanent access, to our non-delayed stream covering the entire morning session from 9 until whenever we end to ensure that you're on the fastest connection possible so you don't miss a beat. And alongside that, of course, VIPs also have access to our monthly VIP webinars, private events, one-on-one scheduling access, all kinds of cool stuff. So whether you're here for the very first time or you're a seasoned VIP veteran over on the Zoom stream, welcome. Glad to have you trading alongside of me today, analyzing these crazy markets. See what's going on today. I mean, so far, what a wild, vindictive move back and forth we've had here. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. Let's take a look at the news beforehand, see what's going on the news side. Nothing earlier this morning, 7 o'clock. There was some stuff, but there's not really much until 10:30. Of course, today's Wednesday. 10:30 is crude oil inventories. Crude oil inventories, the forecast for that's negative 2.036. And if we look at yesterday's API report, that came out at a negative 2.1. It's pretty perfect. In terms of what the market is expecting versus what it's forecasting, it lines up almost perfectly. So, I mean, realistically, it fits the bill. We're probably going to come out at around negative 2 million. If it comes out outside of that, then we'll probably have some decent surprise movement. But for now, looking like it's pretty well intact. Nothing else going on the news calendar outside of that. Don't forget to grab your morning DP levels, as I posted for you this morning on the major 7 markets that we take a look at. And starting off across the board here on the top left, we've got the NASDAQ. And man, it did end up being a V bottom yesterday. It flushed a little further than I really wanted it to, but we did end up getting the V bottom. And it rolled all the way back up. Giant roll all the way back up towards the highs, completing the major objectives in the 866s coming into this morning. This move down, I do think, took a lot of buyers by surprise. And to be fair, it did get very expensive on the way down. That was not an easy one to hold on to yesterday while it was sliding down and blowing off the bottom. For me personally, I didn't. I got out at a break even. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But a lot of traders who may have held through all of that heat, that was too much heat for me. But for those that did, they were rewarded with a giant rally back into the overnight session. We expected it to happen. It just did it in a really nasty way. Now that we've got the continuation to the upside, the big thing that we have to see is, are we going to challenge this bear bar? This thing stands out like a brick wall. I mean, if we were to outline this bear bar here, we're just starting to get inside of that zone. This is a major area of resistance where the market's going to be trying to press back against. Now, we did just flat out blow above a major POC from before, But if we look at the overall move from the bottom to the top, we can kind of gauge what the sentiment is. That last slide down yesterday was, although extraordinarily vindictive, nothing more than a POC retest, reload, bounce, and there it goes screaming all the way to the upside. We have accumulation down to that point, and then just a giant window of nothing underneath there. Eventually, the market is going to want to pull back and fill this in. Don't think that it's not going to. It will, but it might take a year to do it. It might take a week. You never know. But either way, there's a lot of unfinished business that's going to have to take place down here, and that's going to be what the market's going to want to try to get down to if it does break lower. Seeing as what's going on here with this POC shift that popped to the downside, the V bottom, it looks like this thing is poised to the high and it's got some unfinished business to take care of up there. I don't think we're done going to the upside by any means. Maybe buyers try to get a pullback, I guess. It looks very strong to the upside. Over on the S&P is in a similar situation with that vindictive little pop to the downside. Again, in hindsight, it did end up being a V bottom. Really tough the way that they did it, but they did end up getting a V bottom, and we cycled all the way back up to the highs. And it's almost as if nothing happened. It just kind of whoop. Oh, just kidding. Right back up into the range again. Buyers are buying the lows of the range, selling at the highs of the range, but realistically, with that big flush in the lows, I think everybody's planning on a new high probably today, looking for a continuation. Likely zone of resistance would be a wedge top. Doesn't give buyers a whole lot of room, but up to those 4240s. Got some room, maybe another 10, 15 points. Over on gold, still sideways, not really proving a whole lot. We've got maybe a wedge now. I mean, all things considered, where do we even get, like, I guess that might be the wedge. I would almost prefer to draw it with a descending wedge, but none of those really fit. So there's some obvious problems here. The big thing really that we need to see, sorry, I'm getting my cat out of the way here. The one big thing that we need to see is a bit of a breakout and some proof. We've got a very nicely defined wedge low, but it hasn't come down to prove that low. And, maybe we want to get a rising wedge top, something like an ascending wedge. See, it's very wide, and that would allow that to narrow in a little bit. It still kind of points to completion way the heck over here. So we're probably going to see slightly grindy upward momentum going into the next, probably until tomorrow, unless it jumps way up there. But right now, the wedge is still trying to push its way higher. Buyers are still trying to drive their way up. We saw the major V bottom with a copy-paste mirror move from left to right. We're trying to get that continuation up. They've had a nice deep dip. Buyers are looking for momentum higher. The only thing that stands in the way from a wider perspective, I guess, even though it's broken several times, we don't have much else, would be this resistance right here. The only thing they haven't been able to do is really separate above it, and when they did, they tried to, it immediately snapped back. So we've got to be a bit careful. They really need some clean, obvious proof above it before buyers are going to start gaining too much ground. Over on crude oil, this thing just keeps going to the upside. I don't think we've even had the L2 pullback yet, although at some point we should. Yep, that was just an L1. Look at that. Like, what, a quintuple bottom down there? Eventually, there will be a pullback. The one major thing that has happened here is we've gotten to the $70 mark. So, major objective taken care of. That $70 mark, a lot of buyers were looking for. And, well, we hit it, resistance, we broke it above it, and now it's holding as support. If the bulls are going to maintain price above 70, that's the kind of stuff they need to see. But realistically, it usually doesn't have that kind of strength unless it's a major blow-off. Like, take, for example, Bitcoin going above 20,000. This might be that scenario at around $70, but from a psychological standpoint, 70 doesn't really make too much sense. It would fit a bit better to be maybe a little bit of a different price. All things considered, we still haven't had an L2. Bulls are still looking for a continuation move eventually when it gets a pullback. We'll see. Over on the euro, we've got some good continuation to the upside. The bulls are continuing that higher low drive. We saw them kind of picking off on that move yesterday, and today they're still going. In fact, today they're finishing the job with a new high. From the bottom, if we're looking at this as a corrective phase up, they did have a rotation off of L3. That's what they do need in order to get this going to the upside. L3s typically hold off L2s. They did get an L2. We're starting to see some decent repetitive structure, something reliable, which has been sorely missed lately on the euro. So as we get this extra continuation, we've gone 3 to a 2, Now we're breaking up. The next one's probably going to be a bounce off of a 1. So a lot of buyers on the euro are going to be eyeballing higher low, very higher low, L1 type bounces for continuation back up for another new high. Shallow pullback, likely, but it's there. On Bitcoin, nice V bottom off of the lows. Almost a picture perfect head and shoulders here. And a rotation higher. The one thing I don't like is that we've got a higher shoulder on the right. I prefer the higher shoulder to be on the left. That way the measurement just makes it easier for like wedge breakouts and such. In this case, I mean, it'd be like this. I mean, yeah, it broke above the neckline, I guess. But man alive, it's probably going to have to pull back one more time to get some to get some ground. 33,000, showing a decent amount of support so far. But the bulls are looking good. The major thing that we were talking about yesterday was breaking below this swing low and seeing what are they able to accomplish. They tried going lower and they failed. Wouldn't be surprised to see them try one more time, get that higher low, bounce back off, and puts it right around 33,000. On Ethereum, it's still higher lows across the board, but if they are going to pull back with an inside swing, it'd be that one, the head and shoulders. And this is a bit better looking, right? We've got that downsloped, breaking out neckline, really nice. So we've got the continuation of the upside, bull legs, buyers are looking for more movement, and that would project at least upside momentum looking from the bottom to the top. You're looking at a drive to 2750 and potentially doubling up back up towards those 2900s, 2950. So the buyer's got a shot. It's looking good. All right. Get that over there. Starting off on the daily for the NASDAQ and looking at the bigger picture, we already know what's going on. We had that POC shift. They trapped underneath the lows. They even tried coming back down, retested the previous opens, all of those, right? Bounced right back up, and here we are, off to the races to the upside. Very likely we see more continuation, and the major point of interest, although we did see a resistance off of that, wouldn't be a surprise to see them come back up towards those 13, the high-sided POC right up there. Right? It's the 13,920s. Look at the rejection the last time around. They missed it by like a tick. and then it backed way off. So very curious to see if the market can come back to that 920. Still looking pretty strong though. Over on the 60-minute chart, more continuation. They did get the L2 and a break to the upside. L2, see if they want to climb up into an L2, L2 into an L1. They couldn't quite get that L1 pullback, and now we're grinding again. Still just working its way up. It just feels like it's got a lot of unfinished business, and that's sort of what we're waiting for. While the market's rallying higher, looking at it from a volume perspective, at least from the bottom to top, it'll kind of give us an idea as to what we're looking at. And we saw this on the 15-minute chart before with that previous POC shifting at 760 and seeing this bullish responsiveness, seeing the market staying above, breaking higher now and continuing. It seems like a pretty strong notion that we're going to keep this thing going to the upside, at least for now. Looking at it from the closer perspective on the Asian to Euro session stacked, they are bullish and continuing their way higher. And in fact, from the Asian session low, we have not made a new low. It's gone higher low all the way up. So if we look at this from a cyclical perspective, it started off with an L4, rolled back up to a new high, and then deep dip all the way down to an L5. Played off of the L5 for a while before breaking up to a new high. After it broke up to a new high, came back to an L4 again. Made a higher close. You see that higher close? It just shifted it by a little bit. They kind of poked that little extra high up there. Either way, they came back. They were kind of bouncing off that L4. Continue back up to a new high. No, actually, that was a big enough pullback. We get... Oh, no, it wasn't. Look at that. Ooh, would you look at that? It missed it by a tick. That's a JH fill if I've ever seen one. They missed it by a tick on that L1, so a lot of buyers are kind of giddy, and this is something that we see very frequently. When they miss something, the next time around, it usually cuts through it. And, well, here, this time around, they cut through it, and they dove all the way back down to an L3. So we had, what, like an L5, an L5, an L5, an L5, an L5, an L4, an L4, an L4, an L3. Now we're finally breaking back above the highs. Chances are we're going to try to climb the ladder. I have, some suspicion that the L1, L2s are going to start creeping up, although I would prefer to be an L2 if we're going to climb the ladder. We've had L5s, L4s, L3s. 2s are next. Haven't had it yet. Now, we can utilize that from a swing perspective. If buyers are going to be coming in here down at the lows, 47.75, chances are they're not going to want the L3s to hit. That's not a good enough entry point. We're going to have to get it a little bit further down. I mean, honestly, they're going to want their stop underneath that low. Where's their entry have to be just to get the 2-to-1 to fit? Right there. All right, so the entry's actually got to be just underneath L2, which is kind of a bummer. All right. 41.75 it is. But that said, 83.25 is the bottom of L2, and we also have 48.50. So I will bottom weight those, but I'm still interested in that 48.50. It wasn't 48.50 though, was it? It was it's just underneath it. That's not good enough. 47.25. There we go. The breaks for all of those would be underneath the 28.25. And from the average point where that's going to hit, I want to make sure, does that still fit? And that's not going to fit if I build in that way. Man, they're really trying to get those deep pullbacks. So the only way that I can actually make this work is to buy lower and accept the fact that I might just not get filled. Otherwise, it just doesn't fit the targets above the highs in all scenarios. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I totally forgot. Let me go back here. So yesterday we were talking about how we were in... What the heck? Oh, let me turn my entry so I can see what the heck's going on. We were talking about how if we break below the low, that's the E-stop, the exits, like something's got to change. I've got to start looking to get out of the trade. Now, build-in traders, we know the drill. They're going to buy in 3, 4 to 1 like we were talking about, and they're going to take their exit. You can see that's what I chose to do. We had a 3 to 1 and the exit, which was just above break even. That was my management. But the other way would just simply be an exit right there as soon as it started breaking the low and eating the loss. Those are the two different scenarios that we were talking about. Of course, in typical Murphy fashion, where I was buying to accumulate to drive my average down to exit, it ended up being the lows, and I should have just held the stupid thing. But you don't know that's going to happen. You know, like I said, this slid way farther down than I wanted it to, and ended up having to go in relatively large just to get out. You can see I certainly was not the only one with those intentions by any means. I was not alone at all, but a little bit frustrating that it did end up cycling higher. Oh well, nothing you can do about it, but that was the way that I approached it. And you can see, I mean, sometimes when it hits the E-stops, that can be the reversal point. You miss the entire rally to the upside. Welcome to life. Like, you're just not going to get them all. You just got to live, let live, and keep going. Oh, and just as a side note, before we go to the open, yesterday I totally forgot that my son had a half day yesterday and today. I thought he still had a normal day yesterday. So I had to reschedule my second vaccine to today. So today, the only open spot that they had, the latest one that they had, so I could even do a room today, was 10:50. So if we do an extended session this afternoon, it's probably going to be a little bit shorter because I'm going to have to duck out closer to like 10:20. So I don't know if I'm going to do an extended session today. It might make more sense just to leave the first session going and not even worry about rolling over. So just as a heads up for the member side of things, because of the timing, I think it just makes more sense to keep this one going and not worry about doing the other one. Especially creating a situation you're going to have to jump around for like 5-6 minutes. Nah. So we'll just stay on this one today and skip the extended one. For me to go get jabbed. Was there a POC that shifted where you got out yesterday? Let's see. Are you talking like in the big picture or in the, I mean, I'm sure there was in the shorter picture, but if we dive all the way down, well, before that low, the POC was still here. There was not, although there was a metric ton of buyers that were coming in. Let's see if they were able to do it by the next higher low. Nope. You can see all the volume that came in for the exits too. Now, I mean, again, if we go in the short term, then yeah, there's almost a guarantee that there's going to be a POC there. If we shift it before, the POC ended up being down at the low. So. All right. Obvious zone of support on the NASDAQ is going to be dipping down into this pink zone here. Not that far over, though. More so in there. Actually, you can even see it a little bit further back. That's going to be the hot spot. Realistically, if we look at that last dive to the downside from top to bottom, the POC was smack in the middle. And it cycled off of that a little bit. If we drive this a bit further forward to the higher low, they actually didn't move the POC. Wow. Okay. Man, I thought for sure they would have... fair enough. All right, well, this pullback becomes a little bit more enticing on a higher low at 55 quarter, although I would still love to see 43 quarter. We've got a quad top on the highs here. We've got 6 minutes until the open. All right, I'm going to cancel the NASDAQ. I didn't get a pullback, and we're all the way back up to the highs again. We'll have to wait until we get a cleaner signal for those swings. Not to say that it's not invalid, but you're going to have to leave those orders on going into the open, and you know the risks involved. If you don't, you should. Another high in the market backing off pretty quickly. Zone of interest is going to be a retest on that previous POC, especially considering the fact that they couldn't even shift it. Even after they broke a new high, POC stayed there. Talk about an immense amount of volume. Holy cow. technically that was a new high, huh? Okay. Got the open right around the corner here in about 4 or 5 minutes. We'll see where things want to go from there. And that's a pretty heavy bear bar off the top. Sellers are trying to pressure back down just a little bit here. I mean, remember the bigger picture. Buyers are obviously very interested in this move. I just noticed this. Look at this on the 15-minute chart. The POC of this drive down, if you just go from the top to the bottom, created in the middle. I just noticed this wick right there. You see that wick? Lordy, lordy, lordy. That adds a lot of context to the bulls. Holy crap, we might not pull back at all. The best pullback we might get now, based off of something like that, is a higher low up here on those closes and opens. That's a huge context shift. I mean, if we shift this forward, obviously, and bring it to the forefront, the POC has moved a little bit now that it's had some time, but still. That's nuts. Market pulling back just a little bit here. Some bear bars and bull bars off the top, but not really seeing a whole lot of movement or distance. Distance on the movement would be the best way to put it. I tell you one thing though, this up here isn't giving me the warm fuzzies. I don't like how long this is taking. Almost a picture perfect wedge too. Wow. Very nice looking wedge. Sellers are trying. This would be the third time sellers have tried. If that fails, that's a big deal. I mean, we already know today is expected to be bullish, but a lot of buyers would love to be a little bit deeper than where it is now. 2 minutes until the open. 9:28 through the market around just a touch. Not too much, though. Very nice bull bar to the upside. Timing is incredibly awkward. Okay, I was going to say it's either got to go very fast or the buyers are going to give up because we've only got a minute and a half until the open. It went very fast. So I chose to stay out of it. But if you did, that was a really fast pop. Doubtable it's going to stay up here. We're going right into the open. Everybody's going to look to take profit into that high. That's why it pulled back so hard. Hey, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Very strong bear bar off the top. We've got the open around the corner here in about 40 seconds. A lot of buyers would love to see that deeper pullback. I mean, remember what we're looking at from the cycle perspective. We've got those L5, 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 L4, L4, L3. Next pullback, they got an L1 to the tick so far. I would love to see an L2 for them to climb the ladder. But at the moment, bulls are owning it. And they just keep ripping higher off of these L1s. $9.30 open hits. Got some volatility with buyers attempting to crack above the highs, but looks like they're giving up. Big dump to the downside. Now, that may be a washout for buyers to buy that flush. A lot of buyers very likely will, too. Don't be surprised if there's a lot of volume coming in on that move. Retesting the POC at 870.75. That's where buyers tried buying at the highs to get the breakout and failed. Closing just above. Looks like they took it at break even, driving back down. Buyers will be underneath this bull bar looking for it to snap back up again. Okay, back up to break even. If they close above it, this is the buyer's shot to take it. Oh, what a terrible candle. What is that thing? All right. They do finally get the continuation. Big drive to the upside. Look at that order at the top. Whoa. They hit a wall at 87.75. Big wall at the top at 87.75. Sheesh, what a play by... Look at that POC at the top. They're going to have a heck of a time getting that thing back. See if we can get a little bit more of a pullback here. We've got some sideways consolidation. A deeper dip down to 57.50 would be fantastic, especially considering buyers are going to be trying to buy that higher low. And we just saw a major dump at the top. Huge volume got out of the way. That means that a big buyer likely shifted. Now we're seeing a POC shift down, and it's being treated as resistance. See how the market's respecting it down? We're seeing some clues that buyers are taking profit. It doesn't mean that this has to be the top, but it does mean that we're going to have a harder time keeping the gas pedal down. I don't want to buy up here the way that this is moving. It's going to need more proof. POC smack in the middle at 80. All right, they're trying to get above it now. Oh, no. Uh-oh. That's a tough candle. See what buyers do? Nope. Wow, they didn't even show up to the party. Not a soul. No one at 880. Oh, look where the candle closed. It closed right back on top of it. Holy crap. Let me see if I can get this a little dip down here for the buyers to snap this back above these 880s. Nice little snap. I missed the fill on the bid. I'm going to have to take it there. I was trying to get the fill on the bid to draw my average down for the scalp back up to 80, but it jumped up and popped back down so fast that I couldn't get it. We're likely to slide back down a little bit further now unless they shift immediately back above 80. Strong bull bar? Very strong bull bar. Buyers will 100% be back involved in a move like that. Looking for a continuation play to the upside. I'm going to keep it on the lighter end, though. It's either going to blow off the top now or we're going to get the deeper pullback to 57.50. Still not even close to swing territory yet on the NASDAQ. Micro double bottom so far after the doji. 100 ticks left on the candle. POC shifting down. We've got a bear bar back under after that downshifted POC. They tap the low. Immediately bounce back up. All right, there's the drive to the downside. Can they grab 57.50? This is why I stayed light. Don't jump back up yet. We're still early. We got to get down here. Come on now. All right. Well, given the way that that operated, that keeps me as a scalper at this point in time. 57.50? No? Jeez. These buyers are snapping these lows up like they're going out of style. If it gives me another reason for scalpers to become buyers again, then I might maybe take one more, but I would rather see like a sell side failure or a trap or something like that before I'm going to add, because the zone that I want to build into is down at the 57.50s. So far, I still looking at an objective back at the highs. Bulls are trying. All right, well, unfortunately for me, I wasn't able to, I'm going to jump out here. I wasn't able to get any more. I wanted to dip down to 57.50, but the stupid thing didn't go down there. Well, stupid thing. It held the higher low, I suppose, but it never gave me a chance to draw my average down, and the point of that whole move was to exit back at 880, back at the POC. There's nothing I can do about that. Oh well. See if we can get another slide or a continuation or something that looks a little bit better. But obviously, any buyers who were in jumped out at break even, and we're seeing that response. If the buyers are going to regain control back up, they've got to crack this 80. Nice wicks on the lows. That definitely helps. They're trying. Wow, a lot of volume just shifted into the 80s. You see that volume that stepped up there? Good continuation with a breakout move back to the upside. Buyers will be looking to snap into this snapback as a washout for a continuation move back to the highs. Beautiful pop. Woo! There it goes. I only had a chance to get one. Golly. Hello? Okay, well, we got that quick little snap back towards the POC. That's all buyers needed to dive into that thing. I had a millisecond to grab one. That's it. Snaps all the way back up to the highs. We'll see what they're able to do after that. I hit ask. I don't know if you'd have to watch the replay, but when I hit ask, there's so many candles that formed inside there that the ask showed up in the middle of all of those candles before it actually like filled. So, like visually speaking, that movement happened quick. Micro triple bottom here. That's awkward. Bear engulfing through a micro triple bottom. Ooh, big time for sellers to try to shove back down. They've got to get through that last POC that just formed. Remember, we're very top weighted right now. This thing's got to pull back a little bit further. That L2 is just waiting. All right, from an L2 perspective now that we've got some wiggle room, 60. $54.75. There we go. And 40. Euro sessions right there, really? All right, I'll modify a little bit. If my stops are going to be down and underneath the Euro session, then that's not going to fit for an entry. I've got to modify lower 58.75 at minimum. Whoops, I didn't want to move that one. 54.75. There we go, do it like that. And actually, that adds quite a bit of flexibility because these are down there. There. Okay. So from the swing perspective, that gets me in a significantly better spot. Upside objective is still inside the highs. Would be really nice to try to get an average a little bit further down, and which is what I'm trying to do with this, and that would get our targets ahead of that major POC at the top. So swings have a shot here for a long. We are also attempting to break lower here. Remember, we are heavily overweight, so the market's going to want to pull back a little bit, revert to the mean. Sellers will be looking for a continuation downside too. Okay. Well, I hit the entry. Jeez, oh Pete. I mean, if scalpers were there and they hit that, guaranteed they would have taken profit on that bounce. That was nuts. Wow. Well, I guess if it immediately bounces up, then I'll take it there. Just springboarded that low. Holy cow. Bulls trying to get a bit more continuation up. I would really like to see just a bit lower in those 57.50s, but they haven't quite gotten it yet. The swings are long, although realistically, I know a lot of traders took profit on that bounce. So seeing it pull back and retesting, this is kind of a refill point, if that's the case. Bulls attempting to break above that previous candle. Looking at the first 5, even though we haven't really deviated away from the first 5 candle very far. Oop, I got the wrong one. That's right there at 87.50. Or 78.50, sorry. Very strong bullish momentum for the scalp perspective as well. Now we've got a bull engulfing candle stepping back up. This is more proof that sellers are failing as well, remember. Dipping underneath that previous bull bar and snapping back up again. If we look at this from a volume standpoint, from the top to where we are currently, the POC, geez, that thing looks like a literal shelf. How often do you see a POC like that? Jeez. 85, huh? All right, so I'm looking at my swing long on the NASDAQ as we're approaching the 78.50, and looking at it in the sense that we've had such an incredibly strong rally to the upside that I'm not interested if it pulls back anymore. I'm also not interested to add in anymore. So I'm just going to trail the stop. Got taken out on the micro NASDAQ. I mean, it was a to-the-tick bounce right directly off of it. That's nuts. Ooh, big pop back up to the 85s. Tapping the 85s, starting to break through. They still never made it down to those 57.50s. Trying to break back above. Buyers on a narrower reload for the scalp side of things, or the swing side of things rather, will be looking for a continuation play off of like 77, 75 in that area. Or not. That's cool too. All right. Big breakout continuation move above the top. Again, why does this show up? This happened yesterday, this line. There's an indicator that's plotting. I swore I deleted it yesterday. Continuous movement to the upside. Buyers are just absolutely raging this thing higher right now. Still no larger pullback yet to that deeper zone. The one that we were waiting for was the L2, and I mean, absolutely nailed it. It's just a perfect bounce off of the L2 with a continuation back up towards the highs and the POC up there. We couldn't ask for more. Now that we've got a larger continuation, the cycling of this movement is kind of climbing the ladder again, right? The next one is an L1. We've had this cycle, L5, L4, L3, L2, L1 is next. So we either get a higher low L1 pullback that has a very shallow pullback back up to the highs, or we see the deep reset where it starts everything back over again. That's obviously got to be going through the back of my head right now. Thinking, okay. That makes me a bit shy to want to buy too aggressively, just saying. Fantastic swing long so far, though. I can't believe that bounce. When I told you to ask me today if I like the swings, I like them today. Ask me tomorrow. Okay, will do. Gotcha. Flat with 380. Nice job. Short at 90.75, and then you flipped it long at 73.75. Great play. I like that back and forth flip-flop. The MNQ gods are with me. Yeah, no joke, because I know for a fact if I would have had that order on the full NASDAQ, I wouldn't have been filled. It would have been a to the tick, like no fill for John. But the micro, that one was in my favor. More continuation to the upside. Whoa. Whoa. Wait a minute. That's going to shift things a little bit. Be careful. Wow. What the heck just happened? What kind of volume just stepped up to the plate? 13,900. Another one. Look at these walls up here. They are not shy about this volume, because notice when they're stepping up, they're showing up all in one spot. It's not like it's showing up over a period of time. It's just slap right there. Big order. Slap. Big order. Bam. That was a shelf. Now they've got another one. Could be buyers taking profit from yesterday's rally in a big way. Doesn't, again, necessarily mean that the top has to be in, but it makes me concerned that we're getting close. You had the order waiting, got hit to the tick, got lucky. Nice. Very aggressive continuation to the upside. Looking across the board, the S&P is not quite up at those highs yet, but it's also looking really nice. That big old wick on the 15-minute is looking juicy. Very nice looking wick back on that 15-minute. A break above that most recent 15-minute bear bar could be a trigger for a big move up. Beautiful consolidation on crude oil, although there's some obvious problems with crude. We've, inventory day makes things a little bit awkward. The anticipation is to be a negative number. Negative number would theoretically be bullish, but after yesterday's rally, it's going to be tough to want to go too far up. Nothing else really doing much of anything. Whew, man. Deep pullback. Aggressive snap lower. The way that pulled back makes me less enticed to want to be a buyer on an L1. I think that's fair to say, but this is where we might get that deeper pullback to 57.50. But again, if it just axes through 57.50, we could be in for that deeper dive all the way down to the 15s. This is the kind of movement that would get things going. Bitcoin, I mean, the thing with crypto is that we had that V bottom off the lows of the Head and Shoulders. Beautiful continuation back up, but in terms of the V bottom, we still have a ways to go until we get that completion. It's got to break back above 30, we'll say 37,000, in order for the V bottom to be confirmed. So, it better hold the gas pedal down. If it doesn't, then we might get stuck down here for a while. Wow, they just axed right through 57.50. Oh man, nobody even showed up to the party. All right, looking for a deeper dive to the downside makes a lot of sense. Very likely this has a secondary leg on it as well. From a shorts perspective, from a swing perspective at least, that begins at around 69.25 or so. That's obviously going to change as time goes on. All right. Move it down just a little. I think 68.25 is still okay. Swing shorts will be looking for a continuation move to the downside. L1s to the downside are obviously taking this at the moment. Actually, they didn't even make it back to the L1s. All right. New low again. Sellers still trying to get a continuation to the downside. Nice job, Bill. Great work. Yeah, I don't blame you. Time to call it a day. We are getting that deeper snap back off of these cycles. The L4s, L5s have been the big one. We're not quite there yet. 840s would be down there. Now, as long as we don't hit that, I'm still okay looking at these shorts. But I will lose some interest if we hit that area. That would cause some problems. All right, sellers. See if they can get the job done on a little bit of a deeper pullback. Or I guess in this case it'd be a retrace, whatever. From the scalp perspective, we can zoom in a little bit closer now. Decent string of bull bars, likely to get continuation so far. Off of Euro session lows. Going from the top to the bottom, we've got a POC smack at the base. If they show support here, I'm going to lose a lot of interest in the short. Oh, never mind. Just cut right through that thing. Jeez. Sellers have some very strong momentum back to the downside. Oh, okay. Well, it closed back up again. The bears underneath that most recent bear bar, if they're able to get a trigger underneath that, that could be a very nice potential short, but we're above the POC. Risk reward for the short on the swing is 2-1, so, I mean, where it is now is fine. Downside objective at the moment, 46.75. Two to one objective now a little bit further up at 53. All right, 2-1 now. Right down there at the 60-50s. If they start taking them out, that will still modify things. Two to one is now there, but I've only got 3. Based on actual risk. See if the sellers can get the swing drive to the downside. They took one of them out. This is a chance to get out of break even, too. I mean, there is that, but I like this for more continuation on the downside. Only taking one out doesn't prove anything, and it's a 2-1, a little bit stricter. All right, there they go. Took all of them out now. Which probably means that it's about time to fall lower, right? We know how this works. NASDAQ, man, that bear bar underneath it. What a disgusting little spot here. Yikes. POC is down at the bottom, so, I mean, scalping territory, I would totally agree. We're seeing bulls trying to shift POCs up. We're seeing sellers trying to shift POCs down. This is a back and forth game of cat and mouse right now. I still think sellers own it, but they're not holding it very well. And if they keep failing, they're not going to hold it for very long. Very strong bull bar back up again. Wow. I wonder how many bulls bought above that bull bar. Let's see how many of those bulls jump ship below this nice little bear bar here. Really? Really? Okay. No, that's fine. No, cool. I didn't want to fill there. No, nobody had a contract there, huh? Not a soul. What kind of garbage was that? See if we can get a little bit of a snap back up into the 870s, I guess. If it's a strong enough bull bar, I'll sit off on the sidelines, though. I want to see the bulls try to come in, see what they do off of that. Because we're hovering at that POC and we haven't really separated away. We're going into 10 o'clock. Again, I'm not going to shift into the extended session today because I've got that shot and I've got to leave for it in about 20 minutes. So I'm just going to keep the morning session going. Nice momentum. Buyers trying to separate back to the upside, but tapping the POC at 78.50 is not going to prove anything. And a strong bear bar back down. You can see the megaphone on the 125 tick on the MNQ. Nasty looking. Right back underneath the POC. Sellers will be looking for a continuation off of that, although I would like to see them pop a little bit further up. That's a nice failure. Sellers will be looking above the previous bear bars, as there will very likely be a continuation on this move. Is that a micro double top? Sellers looking for the continuation push to the downside. Beautiful scalp move back out. Another pop-up that they might be able to rifle off of here. Not getting the flush. I'm going to jump ship on that one and wait for a bit more context. We're just in scalpers territory right now. Halfway decent bull bar back up, but not really able to get the steam going. The first pop off of the top was nice, but we might have to recoup back up to the 70s. See if they can pop up into those 70s here. They missed it by just a little bit. That usually is a sign of caution when they miss it by just a little bit if it goes back up. I would prefer to see sellers break underneath this bull bar to keep things going. There's their chance right there. Beautiful pop to the downside for another quick scalp. Yeah, it had to be the bull bar. Nothing else really fit. That was the problem. It was a bearish enough bull bar where I think it was okay, but it was definitely on the sketchier side with the way that it was setting up. I wonder if I can set up a scalp ATM. For trails. Just trails. No targets necessarily, just trails. Can you do that without a target, or does it mess it up on Ninja? Alright, a little bit more sideways, inside bull bar, not really doing much. Yes, you can. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. If this goes bear engulfing, I would be willing to sell for a scalp. Sure, I would accept that. But just selling above the previous bull bar is not good enough right now. But maybe trying micros. Yeah, for sure. This will technically be a signal bar to the downside. I don't want to sell really this far down. I would prefer to see sellers get triggered in down here and then see the market pop back up. It did trigger them in down there. I don't know if it's going to pop back up, though. Get back up into those 60s. $61 to $57, really. It's a big zone. Okay, the ATM didn't work. I didn't even have an ATM selected. I don't know why it threw an ATM on there, but it didn't work. I don't even know what the heck just happened there. Anyway, I still like the short, so why? Why? Why do you keep doing an ATM strategy? Stop. Can I please short without an ATM? Thank you. All right, beautiful drive to the downside. Whoa, really funky fill. You can see the bid ask is shifting all over the place. One of these times I'm going to get it without the stupid ATM on there. Let's get the bear bar back to the downside, maybe? Ooh, no, not like that. So if I were short on my initial entry and I see candles like this, I'm thinking break evens now. I'm not looking at this to be worth much. My ATMs were throwing me for a loop, though. Give me another nice little inside bear bar. Or the complete opposite with an inside bull bar. I mean, that's cool, too. Talk about vindictive. It's as bad as my kids, man. 100% opposite of what I asked. Give me a nice bear bar back to the downside again. At this point, the buyers have been trying for so long and failing for so long that a bear bar closing on its lows will be enough to get sellers to spark a move down through the lows, or at least attempt it. So it's going to be super low weighted, but kind of makes sense. It's got a trigger. It did trigger. Continuation to the downside. Beautiful flush. Whoo, big old flush. Very nice. Of course, only an opportunity to get one. See if they want to back up into like the 56s, 57s. We're testing the Euro session again, and there was a lot of support in this area the last time around. Plus, it could be a possible 3-press low, and we haven't broken a new low. With that miss, that would make me a bit nervous. Sellers really need to see them break below that 43.25. Still haven't gotten it. There they go. All right. Now they have the break below the low. That's the proof. We have the bounce back. That's because a lot of people are going to buy at the lows, trying to get out at break even, average down, etc. So you expect a little bit of a bounce here, to be fair. But after this bounces back towards the kind of mean, if you will, that's where a lot of selling pressure is going to start picking back up again. What would be the triple reversal? Down, up, down. Equal bars all the way across. Strong bear bar will get sellers in again. I mean, we know what's going on, but that's not it. This is starting with that wick on the bottom, starting to look like a twin reversal off the lows. Sellers are going to have a hard time if they can't get this thing going soon. And triggering above that last bear bar could be a problem. Beautiful candle for the sellers to give it a shot. Downside weighted with sellers likely trying to get that trap above that last candle's high. Give me that bull engulfing trap. Beautiful flush back down. We got the trap above the last bear bar's top. Come on, secondary drive. You can do better than that. There we go. Small, but little continuation scalp to the downside. These areas don't give us a whole lot of wiggle room, so just got to take what it'll give you, I guess. Picking up nickels and pennies along the way here. Another strong bear bar, though, could potentially turn the tides a bit. That's right at the bottom of that twin reversal, too. Big push. From the swing perspective side, there's not really much. I mean, if anything, all of the swings would be a little bit further down. We've got to start dipping into yesterday's territory. Looking at the last pullback that we had, that was here. So if we're looking at a, actually, there's that one there too. All of these are almost identical in size. So a double value pullback then would put prices right here. So swings, if they're looking for swing longs, options, calls, etc. I mean, this is about the lowest point of value that they're going to be able to get in terms of risk. Risk is very minuscule down here, whereas reward is all the way back up to the top. So from a double value perspective, buyers will be looking for a bottom to get built down here. Whether or not it happens, we haven't seen that yet, but it is to be noted that we are in a double down pullback off of the top, which means that I have to let off the gas pedal on my sell side. I've got to wait for deeper moves, bigger pullbacks, bigger retraces, etc. And I've got to leave in a couple minutes anyway, so what better time than to roll right into training time. We'll get some questions taken care of, and then we'll wrap it up. I gotta say, I'm looking at that last bull bar, and I'm looking at that thinking trap. A lot of sellers would have seen that last bull bar that fired off and it didn't work. Or it did work incredibly well. If that triggers underneath it, a lot of sellers might try again and then they get snapped and goes the other way. Sim trades match my live within $5. Nice job. Great work. Little snap lower. Again, I'm looking at utilizing this as an area for bulls to transition the bears as a trap. Nice flush to the downside. First objective off. That downweights the average a little bit. That little snapback right there, I think, was a chance that a lot of traders may have utilized as an opportunity to exit at break even. So I'm approaching this next move down with a bit of caution here. This could have some juice behind it. Yep. I'm waiting for the appropriate time to strike. I want to get my average down. So this is a good example of a scalp that gets stuck. Sometimes this happens when you're scalping if you're not using stops and you're building in, where the initial intention was a quick snap down, a bounce back up. You saw I took my first target, but I didn't get filled on the second, and then it swooped all the way back down again. If it jumps back up and gives an objective back above the 40s, then cool. But realistically, we just put in a pretty big flushy bottom like that, and when the market gets jerky, a lot of traders would have been doing the same thing as I would have been doing, and this is where they get stuck buying way too heavy, way too fast, right? This is where they're like, oh, I'll go 3-to-1 here, I'll go 3-to-1 there, and it's like all of a sudden you have a position you can't manage anymore because it's just too aggressive. You've got to pay attention to those context slides. I know I got stuck on that quick little slide down, not getting a fill on my second target, so I've got to kind of play it a little bit closer to the chest. Notice the respect off of that break-even point. Give me a little pop into the 42s, 43s. I'll be a happy camper. Nice pop. All right, good enough. And that's the exit. So, I mean, sometimes it happens where it just slides against you and you don't get your full fill. Well, welcome to trading an illiquid market. All right, have a good one, Bill. Enjoy. Do you buy the ES? It depends on the perspective that you're approaching it from. Because, I mean, realistically, from like the 15-minute perspective, from the swing perspective, zooming out, not a chance. This thing is in the middle of a range and you couldn't pay me to touch it. From a swing perspective, we've got to be down here at 42.15 before I'm interested in the least. From a scalper's perspective, we are bouncing off of the settlement. This is a major bounce point where the market snapped back with that big wick. This is a big spot. A lot of buyers will be bouncing here for sure. So it depends on the scope that you're looking through, but my candles look so different from yours. Let's see here. If I had to make a... Wow, man, that is... Your candles are drastically different than mine. Like, I mean, tick candles can be very different at times. Like, that's totally normal. That's just how it works. That's how price information is aggregated on a broker side of things. But to be that different, like, that's... Where even are you looking on 621, 621? I mean, there will be about a 1 second delay. So going from 39.25 to 37.75, given the NASDAQ, I suppose is feasible with a 1 second delay. I mean, like, 1, it did move. 1, that was 4 ticks. 1. That was 2 ticks. So I guess in terms of a latency between your computer and my computer, that price discrepancy of 3 or 4 ticks, I think would be fairly normal. Sometimes, especially down at those lows where the volume's jumping around, even all the way up to like 8 ticks. You saw even today, and I will say this is specifically for today, I have noted that utilizing buy, bid, sell, ask, it's been so illiquid that I'll see my order rest there, but the market, nobody's actually there to sell it to me. So it goes to the next point, or nobody wants to buy it from me, or vice versa. So I have seen that today more than any other day that I have over the past month. It's incredibly illiquid today. So seeing a discrepancy of 1.5 points like that today, I feel like is actually probably within the realm of the norm. If that were to stay consistent, like, let's say next week, like next week, if you have the same problem on like Tuesday, it's been a few days, then something might be off. But today, I feel like that's still in the realm of normal. It's a bit awkward, but... look at this. Let me see here. What in the heck? Who is your data provider? Your 500 tick looks like it would be if I made a like 1500 tick chart. It's like we have the same price, like it moves to the same prices. It's got the same lows and the highs, but it's like your chart got smashed together. I don't know how else to explain it. It's really weird. Yeah, yours is 10. I mean, look at the price scale at the bottom. Granted, we're zoomed in and there's differences in that perspective, but it's like you've got far less candles than I have. Try, I wouldn't even know how to fix that. Try, maybe double check the data series. I've got to duck out here in a second, but the data series that I'm using, just to confirm, I've got 21 days of data with trading hours set to 24/7, break at end of day. I guess first double check to make sure that that's right. Also, go into your database, delete all the old stuff, all of that, you know, the typical cleanup stuff, to see if that fixes things. But it's like you have less candles. I don't know how else to explain it. It's really weird looking. Normally I would take a little more time to dig in a bit further in that, but I've got to duck out and get my second booster, my booster shot. So I'm gonna take off, but let me know how that goes, and if you need more help, just shoot me an email, and I'll be able to try to help from there. But anyway, that's gonna do it. Enjoy the rest of the day. Rest up. Wish me luck. Hopefully my arm's not too sore, and hopefully I'm not exhausted and dead tired and sick tomorrow. Fingers crossed. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. All right. Have a good one. We'll talk to y'all later. Thanks.